guys, welcome back to my channel, and today it's going to be a genealogy themed video. I haven't done one of these for a while now, but this month I have two family reunions. Actually, as you guys are watching this, I'm already at a family reunion that we have every year for my dad's side of the family. We go away for the weekend, always really fun, and I'm sure I'm having a really great time, and you're probably seeing things up on my Instagram stories. Anyway, I had also a family reunion last weekend, and one of the things I love about family reunions is obviously getting together with people, but I love family history. I'm researching my family history, like all family history, all branches. So I always take stuff to share with everyone, because obviously as much as I love doing family history research, I love to be able to share it with other members of my family. And it got me finally deciding to do a video and blog post that I've been wanting to do for a while now. So a blog post actually went up earlier in the week. I will link to it below. It actually has some downloads and resources on it if you are interested, but I'll talk more about them when I get to them. So I wanted to talk about how I record and present my family history. I use Ancestry, so all my trees are on Ancestry. All my resources and information are right there on Ancestry, which is actually great because firstly, you can connect with other people and share your information with other people. But I actually also have the Ancestry app, which I thought was a silly thing to do. A silly thing to download when I first got it, but it's actually so handy just to be out and about talking to people, or just wanting to look something up, look up a date, look up a connection, whatever, look up photos, sort of thing. So I have a digital tree on Ancestry. I also technically, I suppose, I have like a digital tree on my hard drive. All the information I have is stored on a hard drive. Everything that has ever been physical is now digital, but everything that's also been digital is also now physical, because I have everything presented in folders. Now, I actually have everything broken down into the different branches of my tree. I think it makes research a lot easier and a little less overwhelming. I do applaud those people who have thousands of people all on one tree and they have every single branch vegetable. But to me, it also looks chaotic. One of my branches actually has quite a lot of people on it, and it can be quite overwhelming just for that particular branch. So I feel like it's just nicer to condense things and just focus on a specific area. Plus, it's also really good if you actually want to share your information, whether that be on Ancestry, where you want to get other family members involved in that branch of the tree. They only have to focus on the branch that's specific to them. Plus, it's also when presenting your history, like how I have, you can just present the relevant bits of history. So, as I said, I've got folders like this, just regular 2 ring bound folders filled with information. Now, as you can see, 2 different colors as well. I have color coded my entire family tree. Not only does it just look really nice on my shelf having a rainbow of colors, but it's just so helpful in just differentiating everything I do. So as you can see, John's here is blue. So everything in the John's folder has blue highlight, blue handwriting if I've had to handwrite notes, blue sticky tabs, blue everything, and anything to do with the Johns is done in blue. So in other folders and in other notes, I have things color-coded blue. Hampson is pink or red. It really doesn't really matter. So in here, things are highlighted pink, things are marked with a pink or red pen. There are pink sticky tabs. Everything in other things is done pink. Plus, I also have a green, orange, and a yellow folder. So this is obviously the Rudder Gospers. Everything to do with them is yellow. Kennedy's, everything to do with them is orange. And Hogan, Gleeson, Lewis, and Coletti, everything to do with them is green. And I'll actually show you guys more about the green folder in a little bit. And actually, when I do show you, when I do a little bit of a flip through of this folder, you will see how handy it is to have the different color breakdown. It's so helpful. So I'm going to insert now the flip through of that. So in my family tree, the green represents the Hogan, Gleeson, Lewis, Coletti families and names, which is my mum's side of the family, so my maternal grandmother's side of the family. This is probably one of my favorite branches of the tree. I mean, they're all my favorite, but this has some really interesting stories in it, some of which I have actually posted on my blog, and I will have that linked in the description below. The first page in every single folder is the family group record page. I'm sure if you are into genealogy, you are familiar with pages that look similar to this. The idea is it's just an overview of a couple and their children. So as you can see here, we have John Hogan, who married Bridget Meehan, and they had 3 children, William, James and Thomas. The highlight is my direct line. So I've highlighted obviously John and Bridget, they are my direct line, and I am descended from William. That's why he's highlighted. A lot of people obviously mark it with stars or asterisks. Maybe some people do highlight them. I found that the color coordination in this has really helped with the highlighting, and you will see in a moment what I'm talking about. Plus I also have sticky tabs for the direct line as well, because it's really easy to get lost in all of these plastic sleeves. So then all the sources after the group record are sources relating to mainly the couple in the group record, but also some of their children, depending on how much information I have about them. In this case, Thomas actually shot and killed James, and then Thomas was executed for murder. So all of the sources about them are interconnected, so it just made sense to include them after this. So with this, it's mainly newspaper articles. The further back you go, newspaper articles are going to be your main source of information. But I also have a couple of sources that have peeked through here. For example, here is the jail register for Thomas before he was executed. There's a government gazette here. So then we have another group record here, and it's just going through the motions again. All of these are in chronological order or as close to. I also have maps in here. So this is actually of the same area. This is like this might even be the full-size version of the map, or as close as, to sort of get a bearing on where everything is. I've highlighted the bits of land relating to the people that I'm talking about. And then this green box represents this map here, which is just a zoomed in version of the area that I want. So this page here is really where you start to see the way that I've ordered this tree. I feel like a lot of people do it this way as well. So yeah, the idea being that you end up in the middle of the folder. So Patrick and Ellen obviously had 10 children here. And after this group record and their sources, we go straight on to Joanna, her descendants. Then we do Ellen and her descendants. Then when we get to the end of that, we go back to Catherine and her descendants. So essentially at the end of this folder, I'm pretty sure it is William Edward Gleeson. He is the last page and I'm in the middle. And we go through the motions there. Another big, obviously, inclusion in this folder is photos of graves, and I try to have at least 2 photos depending on who's buried here. So this is obviously a double plot here with both William and Vera. So then I've got sort of a placement shot of where it is located, and then a close-up of the headstones. In some cases there are actually like a whole family is buried in roughly the same area, so there'll be like a group shot of that as well. I don't know if I have one in this folder, but it's all about just trying to get as much information in this folder as possible. So you know how I have everything color coded? Well, this is where all that color coding comes into play. So obviously I've highlighted Herbert and Maria as my direct descendants. They are my great-great-grandparents. I've also highlighted here Isadora Coletti and Mary Jane Moore, who are my great-great-great-grandparents. They're in a slightly different green colour. Plus I've also highlighted Hazel Winifred because she is my grandmother. So what this means is, firstly, Isadora and Mary Jane are green as well, slightly different shade of green because they are actually located in the back of this folder. The pink here indicates that this continues on in the pink folder. The pink folder is my Pop's side of the family, and I wanted to make sure that I was only included in one folder on my dad's side and one folder on my mum's side. So there's no repeating the same information in every single folder because it all links back to another folder. So that's just an indication that this is my direct line, but this continues in a different folder. It's kind of like a nicer way of writing in the Hampson folder or whatever. Just a really nice color coordination, which I really like. There are parts in here where there isn't any sources afterwards. These are for the most part current or young families. So these are my second cousins or something like that. So at this point in time, I don't really have any information on them. I probably will eventually add some, probably photos more than anything. Here's a good indication of trying to include as much information as possible, even though it's not necessarily directly related to what I'm talking about. So this guy here is Patrick Lawrence Gleeson. He is a brother of Ellen Elizabeth Gleeson, who was my great-great-great-grandmother, the woman we were looking at before. He shot a woman in a hotel in a little town called Bulgandra, which doesn't exist anymore. And she ended up dying, and he was sentenced to 15 years for manslaughter. So there's a lot of newspaper articles. This is just one of the many. And so I wanted to include as much information as possible. So firstly, we have a map here. Nothing new. I've shown you a map before. The only thing is I have no idea on here where the actual hotel was located. There is nothing to indicate where it was. But because Bulgandra doesn't exist anymore, or Bulgandria as it's sort of also known, I wanted to make sure it was a bit of a representation of what it used to be. And now this is what it looks like. So this here is actually the hotel. Very fortunate that my father is friends with the guy who now lives at Bulgandra, so the property Bulgandra, and he had a photo of the hotel. I don't know when this photo is from, but it's a good representation of what it would have looked like when Patrick was there, and this is what it looks like today. Just a bit of scrub. There are some building ruins, but there's nothing really there to indicate that, you know, this was really ever here. So this is all about including as much information as possible, even if it's not even directly related to what I'm talking about. Just kind of fleshing out the story so you can really picture what is going on. Okay, here's a little interesting bit. I have an app called Family Search Memories. It's connected to Family Search, which is like similar to Ancestry. Anyway, it's an app. It's a memories app, so you can record photos, videos, and audio. So this is the app. It's not sponsored at all, but you can record audio on here and save it in 15-minute segments and then go back and listen to it. So I've used this to record family. I didn't actually tell them I was recording them, but I was recording them, and I've slowly started to transcribe them. Now, I have a lot on here. I mean, look at that. That is a lot that I have to go through. So transcribing is taking a while, and so I've only done a few. This being one of them. This is about Robert Little. See if you guys can get in a little bit better. So this is about Robert Little, and it was recorded on the 16th of November 2016. I've been put where it was, so it was at Mawela, and who is involved in this conversation. So there's Lorraine, myself, and my father. Other people were there, but these are the only people that actually said something during this conversation, and then I've gone through and written it out. So this essentially tells the story that Robert worked for telecom. He was up a power pole or a telephone pole, and he was electrocuted. He didn't die or anything, but it's just the conversation that my great aunt was telling us this story. It also turned out that my dad, who is like, my great aunt is my mum's aunt, so my dad, who lived in the same area anyway, had sort of then thrown in that he knew this guy as well, even though he's not technically related to him. So it was a really interesting conversation. I don't actually know if I want to keep my transcript recordings in here, my recording transcripts in here, because I will have quite a few of them when I get around to actually doing them. I think I want to have a whole new folder for them as well. But for now, they're in here, and it's a really great way to also record history. So as I said, William would be at the end of this folder, which he is, and there's some war files here. I actually have, as you guys will soon see, I have a whole war folder that all of these will eventually move into. It's just I've not done it for William just yet. So then we reach the divider here, and this moves on to the Coletti side of the family. So we just did, this whole first part of the folder is my maternal grandmother's father's side. So this is my maternal grandmother's mother's side, and this isn't as detailed. It's mainly Italian. I can't go back too far because sources are really hard to come by, and you know, we're only on the second group record, and it's already telling you for Maria you go back to the first part of the book. But still, this is very interesting and very exciting, and something I obviously had to include, and because it's not big, I've included it in the back of the green folder. If I did have a lot of sources and a lot of information, I probably would have ended up starting a new folder maybe. So I then also have a war records file. I originally had all of the war records stored within each of the relevant folders where they were meant to be, but they got quite chunky. Some of the war records are quite substantial. Their war files are like 10, 20, 30 pages long, and that can add up when you are including it in the middle of a family tree with a whole bunch of different information. And I also have a lot of ancestors who have served in the war, so I created a war records file, and I will have, you guys didn't see it in the folder I showed you, but I do actually have pages that in the folder that say see war records file for more information. So I'll do a quick flip through of this as well. So I decided to combine all of my family war records into one folder. And this one I've again I've broken down by color coding again, so I can still break it up and still have it all divided into each family group in here. So this first one is Johns. So we have a couple here. This is William Thomas Johns. He actually died. I think he's one of the few who have actually died or was killed in action. So this is what you get off the National Archives. So this is the front page that the National Archives provide, and then you just have the scans that they provide from the physical war file in the archives. Then you just go through, and that's all of the records that you can read through and learn about. It's really quite fascinating to sit down and read through them all. Then I also have, you know, his brother, Barkle, not as thick a file there because obviously William died, so there's a lot of back and forth mail in regards to that. Then we have the Coletti Gleesons. There are meant to be a few in there. I think I put the sheets in for the people that I know about to be able to fill in the future. Rudder, so there's a couple here. Some have really thick files, some don't. Hampson back here, I need to print off this guy's front page. The only person who will not have a war file in here, maybe way I will eventually do it, is my grandfather. So then, as I said, my grandfather is the only person who doesn't have a war file in the war files folder because he actually has his own personal folder, and this is so interesting to flip through. And it's set out to look like the proper files, so it makes me feel like I'm actually holding his war files. I do recommend that if you have like really direct ancestors like your grandparents or your great-grandparents, for example, or even parents maybe, to put them in their own little thing, because it just makes it a little bit more special and yeah, close to my heart. So as I said at the beginning of this video, I have a whole blog post up which goes through all of these as well, includes some photos of everything, plus it also includes some resource download. So if you are interested in the group record sheet, an electoral roll overview, the newspaper research overview, the ancestor checklist information overview, and I think there will be a couple of other resources up there, then go check out my blog post and download them if you are interested. Of course, you can totally just use my resources as inspiration for your own to create it to be tailored more towards what you're looking up, where you're located and what information you're finding and how you're displaying it all, I suppose. If you guys have any other questions about my family tree and things like that, then don't hesitate to leave a comment below or ask me over my blog or through social media, whatever. I love genealogy. It is so interesting and so fun and so fulfilling to be able to find information and really see where you come from and discover people and stories that you didn't know existed, or that maybe were only, you know, gossip passed down in the family. You know, it's so fun, it's so rewarding. I highly recommend it. If you've gotten this far in the video, I'm assuming that you do your own genealogy, but if you are someone who's just interested and has gone this far because you're interested in maybe pursuing it, go ahead and pursue it. It is so fulfilling and it's really easy. You don't have to have a history degree, or you don't have to have a research degree, or you know, you don't have to have really much knowledge about your family. As long as you have a basis, if you have a bit of information, maybe some photos, maybe a couple of records, you're good to go. Like, you could have the barest minimum and be able to find a whole world of people and a whole branch of people that you didn't know existed. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope it was informative and interesting. As I said, check out my blog post, download the resources if you want. If there's anything you saw in any of the folders that you want to maybe see a better look of or whatever, just let me know. And yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye!